Hey everybody, Don here. In this video, we're going to talk about 5 business lessons that I learned that is going to help you learn how to code. So, for those of you who are new to the channel, hi, my name is Donald, and the purpose of my channel is to be that big brother that I wish I had when I started to learn how to code. So, if you don't know about me, I had a digital marketing business for about 5 years where, I worked with clients and all that stuff. And here are 5 business lessons that I learned that are going to help you learn how to code. So we're going to go from the learning phase to working with clients or working at your employer that I got from running my own businesses. So the first one is going to be decision making. Now the reason why I say decision making is, when you're getting into this space, one of the most important things, one of the first things that you're going to come up with is, what language should I learn, right? This is a big decision for you. So in business, what I've learned is, there are 2 factors to consider. You need to have something that's in high demand. You're going to have something that has a high barrier to entry. Now, why do I say a high barrier to entry? A high barrier to entry is going to help you to learn how to code faster, because if you have a high barrier to entry, that means that your competition is lower. So that means you're not going to be competing on price and you don't have to be as good, right? And I'll give you an example from the business world. So when I started my online business, there was many different opportunities out there. There was dropshipping, there was social media marketing, there was affiliate marketing, there was, selling courses and all this type of stuff. And I had to go through and determine which one was the best for me. So what I needed to do was I needed to look, 1, at the interest. I needed to 2, look at the demand in the marketplace. And I needed to look at, what was the barrier to entry. So if I went and I analyzed the opportunities that were out there, let's take dropshipping for example. I noticed that dropshipping had a low barrier to entry and it had a high demand, right? Because a lot of people were during COVID were looking for these products. So what happened in that case? Well, dropshipping got extremely saturated. People are selling the same products, and as a result, people are competing on price. If I was selling a pillow from AliExpress, then my competitor would sell the pillow. I would be selling the pillow for $19.99, and then my competitor would sell it for $18.99. So I had to lower the price to $16.99 and then $15.99. It's almost like a race to the bottom, and then as a result I wasn't profitable. So how does this apply to coding? Well, take a look at the demand, see which ones have the highest demand and which ones have the highest barrier to entry. What you want to look for is what's the readiness of information that's out there, because what we have in the industry right now is we have a lot of tutorial developers. So tutorial developers are going to be people that are watching Udemy tutorials, they're copying the projects, and they're sending it out to employers. Now, employers aren't stupid, right? They know that these projects were probably copied. So as a result, your resume is probably going to get thrown out, right? So the readiness of information and the projects that you build is going to be a huge indication of your competency as a developer. By using that decision making, then it's going to really help you out, make the right decision and choose the right programming language. Now, personally for me, I had an interest in mobile. I noticed that there was relatively high demand, obviously not as much as, say, JavaScript out there, but I noticed that there was quite a good demand for mobile developers out there. And, there wasn't that much information out there, so I decided to go the mobile route. So the second one that I want to talk about today is thinking short-term and long-term. Now, why is this important? Well, thinking short-term is obviously going to be what you do on a day-to-day basis, right? It was, what am I going to do today, right? A lot of people fall into the trap of, they want to start coding for like a certain amount of time per day, but they end up getting distracted. They end up doing something else, and they end up kicking their tires for 6 months and not getting anywhere. And I don't want that to happen to you. So what I learned in business is to focus my attention on, what the end goal is and what I need to do to get there, right? So I'll give you an example from business. When I wanted to get clients, right, I knew I needed to reach out to potential prospects. So what did I need to do? Okay, so let's say that the average sales call rate was 20%. If I hopped on the phone with 5 people, I would close 1 client at $2K a month, right? And my goal was to get to $8,000 a month by the end of the year, which means I needed 5 clients, right? Or, yeah, 10K a month, 2K a month, which is 5 clients, right? So I need to get on 25 sales calls, right? Well, how do I generate 25 sales calls? Well, if I generate 25 sales calls, I need to get on the phone with quick chats, we call it, where you're just, qualifying your prospects, and I need converted at around 10%, right? So as a result, I would need 250 quick chats in order to get to 25 sales calls. I'm just giving some arbitrary numbers. I don't remember my conversion rate during that time, but this is just an example here. And it's like, okay, so 250 quick chats. What do I need to do to get 25 quick chats? Well, let's just say that from my messaging, whatever platform that I use, to a quick chat, it would be a 1% conversion rate. That means I would need to do 2,500 outreach messages. Okay, so if I want 2,500 outreach messages, if I want this in 30 days, how many do I need to do per day, right? So you're living in the short-term component, but you also have that long-term component that you're going after, but you're just reverse engineering that towards your goal, right? So in a practical aspect of coding, what you need to do is like, okay, in order to get competent enough, I'm going to spend about a year. The first 3 months, I'm going to learn how to code. So first month, I'm going to learn, the syntax. Second month, I'm going to learn, I'm going to learn, MVVM, for example, for mobile. And then the third month, I'm going to learn MVC. And then from month 4, 5, and 6, I'm going to build projects. And then 6 to 12, I'm going to build bigger projects that require a large code base and start contributing to open source, for example. That's how you would think short-term and long-term. And what you want to do is you also want to have 1-year goals, 5-year goals, and 10-year goals. Now you might be asking yourself, why is this necessary? The reason why this is necessary is because a lot of people are lost in life. They don't know what they want to achieve, right? So when you have these 5 and 10-year goals, you know exactly where you're going and what actions you need to do to get there, right? So let's just say that my end goal is to build a startup, right? My end goal is to build a startup. I'm a new dev, I've never coded in my life. So what do I need to do? Well, it's probably a good idea for me to get contacts in the industry, right? Well, how do I get contacts in the industry? Well, when I get contacts in the industry, I probably want to start to learn to code. I want to start being a CTO and really understanding the startup world. So as a result, my 5-year plan is to start off and, work in a venture-funded startup and then go from there, right? As opposed to say I wanted to be, I wanted to be a tech lead at a big tech company, then my actions would be a lot different from there, right? That's why it's important to have 5 to 10-year goals. And obviously, this is an interview question that people are going to ask you anyway, so this is also going to help you to answer that question, right? So, the third thing rather, that I learned was sales and marketing. So, whether you like it or not, you're going to be selling on the interview, right? So it bears on you to really know how to sell yourself. Now, sales is a difficult topic to really cover, but I'm going to really give you some practical advice here. And, typically when I was in business, what I would do is I would take called the alpha position, where I would be the one that's asking them questions and, making sure that they're qualified to be in my services. But obviously, you're not going to be in that position in an interview setting. But what you need to do is you need to balance between the two and know when to take the alpha position and when to take a seat and let them ask questions. So what do I mean by this? So when you're doing, say, lead code style interviews, you want to keep your interviewer engaged, because what I found is a lot of my interviewers would be out of it. So I would use my sales skills to say, this is the approach, this is the time complexity of that approach. Does that make sense to you? And then they say yes. And I'd say something like, do you think that this is the best approach here? Or do you think I should, while this is a decent approach here, I would say that the binary search approach is probably a better off solution. Would you agree on that? And then they say yes. This keeps them engaged with you and makes sure that they're paying attention, and that's going to help you get the hints that you need to complete the interview problem, right? Now, the fourth thing I want to talk about is mindset, right? The reason why mindset's really important is what I learned in business is, when you're in business for yourself, when you're a solopreneur, you have to do everything, right? So what I found is my weaknesses become my bottlenecks, right? So one of my weaknesses is I like control, right? I'm too controlling. So as a result, I would be really attached on a sales call. I would really want the sales call to go somewhere where I should have been focused on, qualifying the candidate, just having a casual conversation. I found, having conversations that go nowhere to be really uncomfortable and really tough. So what you need to do is you need to understand yourself and see, are you disciplined? Are you one that gets distracted easily? One of the things that really helps me out along my journey in business and in coding is to take the MBTI test, and I'll include a link in the description below, and that's going to help you understand what your natural tendencies are and what you need to work on. So for example, I'm an INTJ. So I'm introverted, I'm intuitive, I like thinking, and then I'm very judgmental. So what that means is, when you're very judgmental, you're very narrow-minded and focused, right? When you're thinking, you tend to use a lot of rational thought. For intuition, I tend to be very intuitive, and obviously introverted, everybody knows what that is. So what I needed to work on is I needed to be a lot more extroverted. I needed to be a lot more intuitive and sensing. So I needed to be a lot more compassionate, a little bit more emotional, and as well as that is also F, feeling, and a lot more perceiving. I needed to have my options a little bit more open and not go in a particular direction. So I do recommend that you take that MBTI test to really understand yourself and see what you need to work on, because it's really going to come out, whether you're in your interviews, whether you're learning how to code, and stuff like that. And the fifth and final one that I learned is, setting client expectations and working with clients, right? So whether you're a freelancer or you're working on your projects at your job, what you're going to find is, you're going to have deadlines. People are going to, want different things from you, and you as a business owner or you as a coder need to balance, like, what's important in this particular context, right? And when I was in business, I always went back to what's going to make us money, because there's a lot of things that the client needs, and you need to be in the position where you're confident enough such that you say, hey, look, so these are the pros and cons of your decision. These are the pros and cons of my decision. I believe that this is going to help us hit our quarterly goals at this point in time, as opposed to this one where even though it's going to be a little bit better in terms of code readability, for example, it's going to take longer and we're not going to be able to hit our quarterly goals. So we can probably put this on the back end and address it later, as it's not that mission critical to the business, as opposed to this decision where, it's going to be a lot more mission critical. It's going to help us look good on the quarterly earnings and stuff like that, right? So again, obviously this goes back to decision making, but in a different way. So if you guys enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.